We are trying to use the rise of synthetic drug markets as a critique of the UNODC, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which has responsibility for administering the international system for controlling narcotic drugs. And our argument in the paper is that the rise of these synthetic drug markets really is indicative of many of the failures of the UNODC. It's a result of a historical failure. The system of drug control has always been very much locked into and incapable of moving away from a focus on raw narcotic plant type drugs, so cocaine, cannabis and opium. And what's happened is that the system of drug control has really demonstrated negligible early warning capacity. Synthetic markets were becoming more profound, deeper, bigger, wider, particularly in the 2000s. And yet the UNODC, despite having responsibility for protection of public health, completely failed to anticipate the rise and spread of the synthetic markets. The synthetics do cause public health harms. In particular, synthetic cannabinoids, which are very popular, reasonably popular as it were in the United Kingdom, or drugs like ketamine or methadone, these can cause serious health problems. The reality is they can cause health problems because people don't know what they're consuming, and people don't know what they're consuming because of the system of drug control makes it difficult to get information. When the international system of drug control was first established, and we're going back to the turn of the century, and the real focus at that point in time was trying to reduce consumption of these raw narcotic plants. Within this system, synthetic drugs have always been very much at the margin. The focus of counter-narcotics has consistently been on coca, for the manufacture of cocaine, cocaine itself, the derivative, and on opium and heroin. So the challenge that we've had is that over 60, 70, 80 years, 90 years of this evolution of international drug control, what's happened is that synthetics have just remained really quite peripheral to the concerns of the UNODC and its forerunners. And the argument of the paper is that this was because, dating right back to the turn of the century, that the synthetics were kept out of the drug control treaties because pharmaceutical lobbies, for example in Switzerland, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK, they didn't want what was seen as being very kind of modern Western synthetic drugs under the control regime. So as a result of this, even when we have the 1971 psychotropic control conventions, which was a kind of follow-on to the 1961 single convention, even then we have very, very weak regulation and enforcement against synthetic drugs. What's happening right now is we're being pushed back 30 years to where we were in the 1980s. And the result of the failures of the 1980s are the problems we have today.